I am 27 years old and I am $36,000 in debt.
I am 28 years old and I am in $40,722 in debt.
How much credit card debt y'all got?
I don't think we as consumers are realizing like how detrimental credit card debt is.
Y'all, please don't get a finance card.
I'm drowning in credit card debt. And I don't know what to do.
As of this morning, I have $186,056.76 worth of debt.
Credit card debt is one of those things that can get out of control way faster than people realize. You swipe the card for groceries one week, use it for an emergency the next, make a couple minimum payments, and before you know it, you're carrying a balance that feels almost impossible to get rid of. And right now, Americans collectively owe well over $1 trillion in credit card debt. But what interests me isn't how big that number has gotten, it's why people are getting into debt in the first place. Because throughout this video, we're gonna see a lot of people with $6,000 in debt, $50,000, $70,000, even close to $200,000. Some of them made terrible financial decisions, some bought things they clearly couldn't afford, but there are also people using credit cards because their paycheck simply isn't stretching far enough anymore. And I think we have to be able to talk about both sides of that. So at what point is debt the result of bad financial decisions? And at what point does it become a sign that people genuinely can't afford their lives anymore? Let's talk about it.
I am 27 years old and I am $36,000 in debt. Now, I didn't go to school or college, any of that. So why am I $36,000 in debt? Let me give you a quick breakdown. Now, growing up, when I was 18, I got introduced to credit the wrong way. And as a kid, as an 18-year-old, not using their brain, I just swipe. I ended up going into collections. I'm currently paying it off. I was close to $15,000 in collections.
Oh,
I
wow.
am down to $6,600. I have a auto loan that is $26,300. That's the biggest portion of my whole debt is the car. So I am focusing on trying to pay this damn car off. And the last portion is I did move to an apartment. So I went in and I kind of spent money on new sofas and a desk and stuff like that. I spent like $4,000. I owe $3,250, I believe, on that. So that sums up $36,000. Is it a healthy debt? Hell no. Anytime you owe money on a car, it's never healthy because it just depreciates. My collections, I think that's the only good thing, that I'm trying to pay everything off. That way my credit can continue to rise. I went from a 425 credit score to now I think I'm at 665 or something like that. But it was a mission. It was a mission. And, you know, a lot of people need to understand that when you turn 18 and you get introduced to credit, man, don't OD it. Don't OD it, because I did. And I spent the last 3 years trying to fix it. Don't do it.
See, this is how they get you. You turn 18, somebody hands you a credit card with a $2,000 limit, and suddenly you feel like you just got drafted into the NBA. Nobody really sits you down and explains interest, utilization, minimum payments, collections, none of that. They just tell you, hey, congratulations, you've been approved. Approved for what? Financial destruction? And now my man is 27 years old, $36,000 in debt, with $26,000 of that tied up to a car loan. This is where I think people really get cooked, because that car payment can quietly become one of the biggest bills in the house. You're paying the notes, insurance, gas, maintenance, and the whole time, the car itself is depreciating. I don't necessarily agree that anytime you owe money on a car, it's automatically bad, because most people don't have 30 grand sitting around to buy the car in cash. The problem is when the car you financed is way above what your income can comfortably support.
Today is one of those days. I am
76,000?
a lot in debt. And I don't make enough money for me to be in this much debt.
Damn.
We're not just broke, we're literally drowning. On paper, we're fine. The bills are paid, we're not missing meals, we're not behind. But mentally, emotionally, it feels like we're constantly treading water. Every month is the same cycle. Payments, balances, interest, And seems like we're never moving forward. The hard part isn't the numbers. It's the weight of carrying it quietly. The stress, the guilt, the we should be farther along thoughts. That's why we decided to stop pretending like it was heavy and start doing something about it.
Man, $76,000 in debt at 26 years old is nasty work. Did y'all notice the silence after she said that? That was that damn, what am I doing with my life type of silence. There are people walking around right now carrying the same amount of debt and you would never know it. They still go to work, still post on Instagram, still go out to eat. Everything looks normal. But financially, they feel like they're running on a treadmill. Every paycheck comes in and immediately belongs to somebody else. You can be making money and still feel like you're not moving forward. You're working every week, but your savings aren't growing. You can't invest the way you want to. You can't really plan ahead because you're still paying for decisions you made 3 years ago. And I know it's easy to look at $76,000 and be like, man, I don't even know where to start, but you gotta start somewhere because ignoring it definitely isn't going to make it disappear. So even if it's 100 here, 200 there, whatever you can actually realistically do, you got to start chipping away at it. Because yeah, being 26 with $76 in debt is crazy, but you know what's even crazier? Waking up at 36 and realizing you're still dealing with the same mess.
Hey, let me holler at y'all for a second. How much credit card debt y'all got? Cause once upon a time, I had around $6,000 in credit card debt, and my minimum payment was about $200 a month. And
It's not
out
that
of
bad.
that $200 a month, I kid you not, I think 162 went to interest. So what was that, like $38 towards principal every month? Like, it took me 15 years to pay that off. It's insane. So I say this all to say, I remember about 7 years ago being about $6,000 in credit card debt and feeling like I would never get out of it. About a few months ago, I started going on TikTok. And because I talk about finances, I get a bunch of financial content, right? And in that financial content, I find out that there's a ton of people on TikTok sharing that they have 38,000, 53,000, 65,000
Yeah.
plus in credit card debt. And I'm like, how? Sometimes I wonder how some of these people even get approved for $65,000 worth of credit limit. Some of these people have like 580 credit scores. It's like, what bank is even trusting you to pay this back? How do you get that deep? I put it on Threads. Yesterday. I put this conversation on Threads yesterday. Over 3,000 impressions. And there are people like, oh, I got 80 right now. I got 110 right now. 110? 110,000 in credit card debt? I only owe 127,000 on my house.
I don't think we as consumers are realizing like how detrimental credit card debt is. Like the average credit card is like between 20 and like 25% APR. So you're paying 25% interest on whatever money you spend. Like, to put that in perspective, if the stock market went down 20% in a year, that is a horrible year. Like, people would be panicking, and you are voluntarily guaranteeing a 20% loss every year. You don't pay it down. Every year you keep adding to it. So think of paying off your credit card debt as a 20% gain. So that's just like buying a stock and it going up 20%. A guaranteed 20%. It's just paying off your credit card debt.
People underestimate just how hard it is to actually get ahead once you're carrying credit card debt because you're not starting every month at zero anymore. Before you can save, invest, or really do anything productive with your money, you've already got somebody standing there with their hand out. Comparing this to investing is really interesting. People will spend hours trying to figure out how to get an extra 8 or 10% return on their portfolio. Meanwhile, they're carrying debt that's costing them significantly more than that. At that point, paying off the credit card might be one of the best guaranteed returns you can get with your money. And another thing people don't think about is opportunity cost. It's not just the interest that you're losing, it's what the money could have been doing for you instead. If you're throwing hundreds of dollars every month at old purchases, that's hundreds of dollars that can't go toward an emergency fund, retirement, investing, or eventually buying a house. So I agree, credit card debt is extremely detrimental. It starts taking money away from the person you're trying to become 5 or 10 years from now.
Everyone's in debt. I used to think, how do people afford this and that and that? But no, everyone is in debt. Like, I had to search the figures, and the figures are staggering. They are staggering. I used to think debt was for people like in their 30s and maybe a major life event has set them back. But no, there are a lot of people in their 20s that are in debt. For example, I have a friend at my uni, and in his culture, getting arranged marriage at a young age is common. So I asked him, like, your weddings and celebrations are quite extravagant. How do people that are 22, fresh out of uni, afford these sort of celebrations? And he's like, they get loans. 20k loans is almost extremely normal. Obviously, parents contribute what they can, but the budgets that are spent on these celebrations are crazy. And I'm thinking, how do these 22-year-olds afford it? And it's like, in his culture, it's like, yeah, loans, like 20k loans. Like people are in debt. And I'm not saying this to judge, but to me, it's just genuinely surprising because I had no idea. Like, I'm not sure if I'm the only one that had no idea. But yeah, that's a fun fact for you. People are just in debt.
When this many people are struggling with debt, at some point you have to look at what it actually costs to be an adult right now. For somebody in their 20s especially, you're trying to build a financial foundation at a time when almost everything is competing for your paycheck. We have to be careful with the whole people just need to stop spending money argument, because yes, there are absolutely people going to debt buying things they don't need. I'm never going to pretend that doesn't happen, but there's a big difference between somebody financing a lifestyle they can't afford and somebody putting groceries on a credit card because they're short before payday. And once credit becomes somebody's monthly survival strategy, that's where I think you have a much bigger economic problem, because a credit card can temporarily close the gap between your income and your expenses, but it can't fix the reason that gap exists in the first place.
84% of people be drowning in debt, still taking trips, still shopping, still going all out, popping it on social media, buying cars, doing all this extra crazy stuff, right? But it's all in the name of flexing and popping it. And the saddest part about it is, because everybody's kind of doing the same thing and on the same wave, there's nobody holding people accountable, telling people that there's nothing cute or fun or pretty about drowning in debt behind closed doors and faking like you got it like that in public. And I don't think y'all understand just how much I've pushed myself and worked so hard to not be one of those type of people. I'm already in a lot of student loan debt, but I vowed to not be in credit card debt like most people, because that's just the type of debt that I just don't want hanging over my head. So I'm not saying that I don't spend a lot of money, but what I am saying is I'm real big on paying the money back. I'm gonna pay those balances off before they hit my credit. Today we're gonna make a payment. So the trick of the game is I use the Kiwi Pop app because it has all of like my credit cards and things together in one place, because it makes things a lot easier when I gotta pay off these balances and I can see everything. And today, I'm not gonna lie, we're gonna tackle one of my heavy hitters, and that's my Amex card. So I have a $5,000 limit and it's racked up right now. We're at like $3,500 or something like that. We're gonna pay it down. My balance is $3,568, and I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, we ain't paying the full amount today. We're gonna go ahead and actually only put $200 towards it, because realistically and honestly, your girl still got maintenance to get to this week. It's remaining balance that we have, we'll get to the rest of that on Friday when it's payday.
We live in a time where looking like you have money can get you attention even when you don't actually have any. People want a nice car, designer clothes, expensive dinners, vacations, not always because they genuinely want those things, but because other people get to see them having those things. And social media rewards that. Nobody gets 50,000 likes for maxing out their Roth IRA. People have to separate looking wealthy from actually building wealth, because there's nothing impressive about having a 70,000 car sitting outside if you're nervous every time a payment comes out. And I'm not saying don't enjoy your money. I spend money on things I like too. But if you're going deeper into debt just to maintain an image online, at some point you have to ask yourself, who am I actually trying to impress?
Hey y'all, it's Pretty Girl Sophie. I want to tell you guys, as a 19-year-old with $45,000 in debt alone, y'all, please don't get a finance card, literally, y'all. I have a Jeep, 2021 Jeep. I bought back in 2023. I financed that for $46,000, right? I'm like, I really want, this is my dream car. Yeah, don't get on me talking about, oh, Jeep is your dream car. Yes, at the time I was 18. It was my dream car, like most definitely. But now I can't get rid of this car. Literally, I'm stuck with this car, y'all. Like, I'm in so much debt right now, y'all. Like, most of my paycheck is going towards this car. Half of it is going towards this car, y'all. I'm literally struggling so bad, and I want to document my journey on how I'm going to get rid of it. I've been doing DoorDash to like pay off, you know, sometimes 'cause, like, honestly, me working is not going to cover it up. And before y'all be like, oh, why is your hair done? Why is your eyelashes done? And with my DoorDash money I earn. Just because you're broke doesn't mean you can feel broke. Like, I just want to like feel like myself, you know what I'm saying? But my car, right? My car note is literally, guys, I cannot stress enough. It's $978 a month. Plus warranty, that's $154. So calculate that, I'm paying $1,200 something alone on this car, y'all. Like, I'm struggling, but nobody knows I'm struggling because I was ashamed of it. Like, now it's like, I don't really care what people think. Like, y'all gonna care, it is what it is. I know y'all be like, well, bitch, why would you do that? Y'all, I lived and I learned.
This is why I think buying your dream car too early can really set you back financially. At 18 or 19, your income probably isn't anywhere close to what it's going to be 5 or 10 years from now, but you're already locking yourself into one of the biggest monthly expenses you can have. And now she's doing DoorDash just to keep up with her car. I mean, at this point, do you even own the car, or does the car own you? Because if most of your paycheck is disappearing just to keep something in the driveway, you're sacrificing money that could have given you some breathing room. There's nothing wrong with wanting a dream car. Just make sure your dream car doesn't delay every other dream you have. Alright, so here we have an article that was published this year on July 1st on Edmunds. And for those of you that don't know what Edmunds is, it's essentially an American automotive information company and car shopping website that helps people do research on the cars they essentially want. So as usual, I'm not going to read all this. Let's just go through the bullet points, and I'll have like a timestamp if you guys want to skip this section. Buyers are lengthening their loans past 72 and 84 months at record levels. A record 36.5% of all financed new vehicle purchasers in Q2 took on a loan of 73 months or longer, up from 27.3% a decade prior. 23.9% of Q2 financers signed on for loans of 84 months or longer, another record. Monthly payments reached an all-time high for the third consecutive quarter. The average monthly payment on new vehicle purchases hit a new record of $777, slightly above last quarter's record of $773. Average monthly payments crossed the $700 mark for the first time in Q3 2022 and have generally remained flat or ticked upward since. Consumers have never financed as much on a vehicle purchase as they did in Q2. The average amount financed for a new vehicle purchase climbed to a new all-time high of $44,156, up $257 from Q1. The share of monthly payments averaging $1,000 or more matched an all-time high at 20.3%. 1 in 5, 20.3% new vehicle financers in Q2 took on monthly payments of $1,000 or more, tying the record mark from Q4 2025 and slightly from last quarter's figure of 20%. Total interest paid reached a new record as interest rates remained elevated. The average total amount of interest paid over the life of a new vehicle loan climbed to a record of $9,800, up from $9,500 last quarter and $96 a year prior. The jump comes amid continued heightened APRs, which ticked back up to 7% in Q2. 0% financing has all but vanished. Just 1.2% of new vehicle buyers secured a 0% APR loan in Q2, down from 2.6% in Q1. The share peaked at 24.2% in Q2 2020 amid pandemic era incentives and has not reached 4% share since Q4 2021. Used vehicle buyers are feeling the squeeze too. The share of used car purchases with monthly payments of $1,000 or more rose to a record of 6.3% in Q2, while the average amount financed for a used vehicle climbed to $30,000, up from $29,000 in Q2 2025. So what should you pay attention to? Well, 36.5% of financed new car buyers took loans of 33 months or longer. That means more than a third of these buyers are signing up to make payments over 6 years. A record 23.9% took loans of 84 months or longer. Guys, that's 7 years. Think about how long 7 years actually is. Somebody could finance a car today and still be making payments on that same car in 2033. And the reason people are stretching these loans out isn't necessarily because these cars suddenly became more affordable. It's because the monthly payment has become so expensive that stretching the loan is one of the easiest ways to make that payment look manageable. Because we're now looking at an average new car payment of $777 a month, and that's before insurance. Nobody on Instagram can see your loan term. They just see the Mercedes in the drive-thru or in the picture that you post for likes. I feel like we've created a culture where looking like you have money can sometimes be more important than actually keeping it.
Listen, if you can't pay for your car anymore, just stop fucking paying for it. Hide it. They're not going to look for it forever. If you can't afford your credit cards no more, and it's stopping you from being able to invest in your business or your life or whatever, just stop fucking paying for it. Like, just stop fucking paying for it. These banks don't give a fuck about you. These people don't give a fuck about you. You're a number. They're trying to make money off you. That's all they care about. You quit paying, they're going to sell the debt off, and they're going to move on. They're going to probably get paid twice for it because they're going to still chase after you for the balance. They might sue you, just don't fucking answer the door. Yeah, maybe they could serve you in the newspaper, but probably they won't. It depends on where you live. But still, I'm just saying, don't let it ruin your life. Your mental health is more important. You could fix your credit. That shit's not going to be on your credit for 7 years. Like, you can dispute it off. There's credit repair. Like, you're not stuck. Like, if you need to, file bankruptcy. It really doesn't matter.
Oh,
It's
wow.
not as serious as they make it seem. Like, yeah, your wages can be garnished if you get served and the lawsuit goes to court. But if it goes to court, just get like legal aid. Legal aid will help you. They'll settle for like a fraction of the balance. All I'm saying is you're not trapped by debt. You're not trapped. Like, live your life. Invest in something that's going to make you more money. Stop paying this shit if it's ruining your life. That's all I'm saying.
I understand what she's saying, but I wouldn't recommend just stopping your payments like there aren't any consequences. Your credit card can take a hit, your debt can go into collections, and in some situations, you can even get sued. I do agree no debt is worth destroying your mental health, but if you're genuinely drowning, don't just ignore it. Call the lender, ask about hardship options, look into credit counseling, or get legal help if it's gotten that serious. The goal isn't to pretend debt doesn't exist, it's to find a way that doesn't completely destroy you in the process.
You gotta invest. You gotta do this. You gotta do that. If you're trying to better your life, you gotta go get your credit right, get your credit fixed, get your credit repaired, and do shit. Man, I done tried all this shit, bro. Real shit. I done took out so many fucking credit loans. I owe them people so much fucking money. I know damn well they ain't gonna give me not another penny. Real shit. Invest. What the fuck I'm gonna invest? Every time I look around, all my money going to bills. How the fuck am I going to invest? I don't have nothing left over, not even an extra $100 out the bills and shit, bro. How I'm going to invest? Oh, you living outside your means. You do. No, the fuck I'm not. I got a normal car that I'm paying for. Because I'm not trying to get under the fucking hood, under a cash car. Like that, bro. And y'all on this motherfucker just talking. And that shit do not be relating to the normal people, bro. Real shit. You can better your life how? When every fucking 30 days is something new. Something else. Somebody I owe. How the fuck I'm gonna invest in to better my life?
Yeah, it's hard to tell somebody just invest your money when there's barely any money left after the bills. I think sometimes financial advice online is made for people who already have disposable income. If you're lower income, your first goal doesn't necessarily need to be maxing out a Roth IRA or building some perfect investment portfolio. Sometimes the first investment is simply creating better habits. Even if you can only save $10 or $20 every paycheck, start there. I'd build a small emergency fund so the next flat tire or unexpected bill doesn't immediately have to go on a credit card. Once you have some cushion, then maybe start investing small amounts consistently, even $10 or $25 at a time. If your job offers a 401k match and you can afford to contribute enough to get it, that's something I definitely look into. And I know somebody's going to hear $20 and say, what is that going to do? When you don't make a lot of money, the habit matters before the amount does. Your income can change later. The important thing is getting yourself into a position where every unexpected expense doesn't send you right back into debt.
I don't care what nobody says. Paying off debt is a top tier pay. Imagine just getting paid. Bank account looking nice. Your bills is paid, and at the end of that, you're like, I got a nice little chunk of change. I could save this, I could invest this, I could spend this, I could do this, I could do that. But then you remember, oh no, the credit card with an 18.66 interest rate. Let me go and pay that. And if y'all are anything like me, I don't like to pay the minimum at all. I be trying to throw like any extra money that I have, I be wanting to throw it at debt because I'm like, I don't like owing people money. I don't want y'all calling me, emailing me, talking about your next payment is due on such and such date. Like, no. So for me, low-key, I be a little anxious. I got a little extra money and I got some debt to pay off. I be like, bruh, I gotta spend like $1,000. And the worst part be when you finally pay off all your debt and then not that long later you find yourself back in a significant amount of debt again. Like, what the fuck is going on? How did I get back over here?
My life has officially gotten out of control, so let's talk about it so you feel better about yours. As of this morning, I have $186,056.76 worth of debt. That is almost $200,000 worth of debt.
Oh, wow.
I know. Now that number by itself is just so large and so overwhelming that every time I look at it, I kind of just ignore it and I just move on with my day, and then I swipe my credit card and I buy something else because I don't even know really what to do about it at this point. But I am nothing if not ambitious. And what my ambition is telling me this morning is that we're gonna fix this and we're gonna take care of this one way or another. Of that $186,000 of debt, I have $54,597.36 in credit card debt, just credit card debt. And that's what we're going to tackle first. I am giving myself 52 weeks starting November 1st to pay off all $54,500 worth of credit card debt. So November 1st, 2025 to November 1st or October 31st, 2026, I am going to pay off all let's round it and say all $55,000 worth of credit card debt. Now, is that even possible? I have no idea. That's a lot of money. I don't even know if I'm physically capable of doing that, but I'm going to spend the next year trying.
Almost $200,000 in debt is the type of number where I understand why somebody would feel completely overwhelmed. You need an actual strategy. What caught my attention is her giving herself, 52 weeks to eliminate $50,000 or $55,000 in credit card debt. That's over $1,000 a week. So I'm curious what her income looked like and what she was willing to sacrifice to make that happen. And I wonder where she's at now, because November is around the corner. I think people need to see the other side of these debt stories, because I'd love to see more people come back a year or two later and show what actually worked, what didn't, and how much progress they made. Because getting into debt can happen really quickly, but getting out of it is usually the part nobody sees. All right, so for our second article, we have household debt balances rise slightly as delinquency transition rates hold steady. And this article was published this year on May 12th. So I actually read this already, and most of it is not relevant to credit card debt specifically for this video. So I'm just going to read this paragraph right here because I thought it was good. Mortgage balances grew by 21 billion in the first quarter and totaled 13.19 trillion at the end of March. Home equity lines of credit, HELOC, balances rose by 12 billion, totaling 446 billion, 129 billion above the low reached in Q1 2022. And this is what I really wanted to read right here. Credit card balances fell by 25 billion and stood at 1.25 trillion. Oh wow. Auto loan balances increased by 18 billion to 1.69 trillion, while student loan balances remained essentially flat, decreasing by 6 billion and standing at 1.66 trillion. Guys, Americans had 1.25 trillion in credit card balances. Now, 1.25 trillion in credit card debt is the number I want everybody to pay attention to, because even though balances dropped 25 billion that quarter, Americans are still carrying well over $1 trillion on credit cards. And unlike a mortgage where you're borrowing money to buy a house, a lot of credit card debt can come from everyday spending. The problem is when that balance doesn't get paid off every month. Now you're paying for interest, and depending on your APR, something you bought months ago can still be taking money out of your pocket today. And if we scroll down here, what's interesting is credit card balances actually dropped 25 billion from the previous quarter, but compared to the same period last year, they are still up 70 billion. So don't let that quarterly decline fool you. The bigger trend still shows Americans carrying more credit card debt than a year ago. And then look at the table underneath this. About 7.1% of credit card balances were flowing into serious delinquency, meaning 90 days or more delinquent. A year earlier, that number was 7.04%. So not only are balances higher every year or year over year, you still have a meaningful share of debt falling seriously behind.
One thing I never hear people talk about is debt depression. And I'm just wondering if this is a known thing, because I've been thinking about it all morning, because I was woke up by a credit card company that calls me literally every day asking me to pay this credit card. And it's to the point where it's from a laptop that I bought years ago, thinking that I was going to be able to just put it on the credit card and pay it off sooner than later. But then jobs fell through and things happened, and I have fell behind in paying it. And they call me every single day asking me to pay it. So I recognize the number, and this morning I was trying to sleep and they called me, and it just ruined my morning. I just feel so bad that I can't pay it, and it's not the only credit card. It's multiple credit cards, and I'm just really struggling with money, because I was working a full-time job, but I still, even working a full-time job and making like $35 an hour, I still couldn't pay for all of my bills and the credit card bills. That's crazy.
Being in debt has to be one of the worst feelings ever. I remember when I was 23, fresh out of school, had a new job, and I was racking up credit card debt. It got to a point in which I had something like $5,000 of credit card debt. Let me tell you something. The way that I felt every morning when I woke up and I knew I had that debt looming, I didn't even want to open the Chase account because I knew how much I owed. There's something about it that feels like the whole world is shutting down. It feels like it's your last day on the planet. It feels really intense. And if you're someone that's like in this situation that might be dealing with credit card debt, you have to face your fears and you have to come up with a solution. I remember I used to tell myself like, oh, like I wish it would go away. But long story short, what I realized is that like hope is not really a strategy, right? Like I can't wish the debt away, or I can't wish or pray that I run into a bunch of money and pay everyone back. If you know that you're in debt, find help immediately. Find help immediately and try to find a strategy to get out. Something that I do, and again, I offer consultation services, etc., so we can like have a whole conversation about a strategy. But something that I realize is that sometimes you're gonna need help getting out of the hole. It's not always simple, but let me tell you something. When you find someone that can help you, when you're able to kind of put the pieces together so that you can get yourself out of a bad situation, it will make your life so much better. Because being in debt, low key, is like being in.
When you're already stressed about losing a job or figuring out how you're going to pay your bills, having creditors calling you every day can make you feel like you can't escape the matrix. That's why you have to be realistic with yourself. If the math doesn't work, the math doesn't work. Beating yourself up isn't going to create another $500 in your bank account. You have to sit down and actually start building a strategy. Debt can happen a lot faster than people realize. Sometimes it's bad decisions. Sometimes it's trying to maintain a lifestyle you can't afford. And sometimes life just happens. You lose your job, something breaks, an emergency comes up, and that credit card becomes the only thing keeping everything together. But regardless of how you got there, eventually you have to make a plan to get out. So I'm curious for the ones that made it to the end, because I know a lot of people are dealing with this quietly. Do you currently have credit card debt? And if you do, what's been the hardest part about trying to pay it off? Until next time.